And so my commute was terrible. I mean, it really frankly
Do you have
sucked.
to take a ferry every day?
No, but it was about a 3-hour commute each way because
Oh,
you have to go right past
God.
Langley. Yeah, it
Why
was
didn't you
brutal.
move closer?
Well, I wanted to give my kids a really good quality of life, and I did not want to work in the city and then kind of expose them to kind of the craziness, if that makes sense.
Especially D.C. D.C.'s crazy.
Especially with kids, right?
Yeah.
So anybody
Kind of
who has
nuts that they
kids.
don't clean up the capital of the fucking country. It seems like
You know, brother, it's
kind of indicative of the
it's
rot the whole country's
it's
involved
such a
in.
disgrace because you bring these foreign dignitaries, and the first thing they see is just the dereliction
Yeah.
of it, and it's a very poor reflection on really what the American spirit is about. But that's for another conversation. I
Yeah.
guess.
It seems like they could fix that,
Yeah,
especially in that place.
yeah, one would hope, right?
Yeah. I mean, Jesus Christ, it's the nation's capital.
Yeah. So I was offered a job to go back to the Pentagon in 2008 for a little while and basically run the integration between national level intelligence information and local and state and tribal law enforcement. So after 9/11, the country realized that we had a significant problem getting national level information down to the cops on the ground that could actually do something about it. Why? Because he didn't have security clearances. So they weren't allowed to be provided that information. So one of my jobs was to try to help fix that. And shortly thereafter, I got there in 2008. It was probably early 2009 is when I was approached by two individuals who came to me and they said, look, we'd like to consider you for a program that we're part of. It's a very nuanced program, very secretive program. Now, when you're in the government, you hear that all the time. It's not, people look at and they say, oh, you have a secret clearance or a top secret clearance. Millions of people have some sort of security clearance in the government, and a lot of people have a top secret clearance. So it's really not that uncommon. It's really not that sexy. It's just
So you didn't really know what you're getting involved in?
I didn't at all, not at all. In fact, great question. So no, I didn't know what I was getting involved in, and after several conversations, it occurred to me that their interest in me was some of my background I had. In my early career as a special agent in counterintelligence, I was protecting technologies, critical avionic technologies, for example, and some aerospace technology. So think of first stage solid rocket motor booster technology, Tomahawk cruise missiles, stuff like that, Apache longbow. So advanced avionics was something I was kind of already familiar with, and at the same time, I had the counterintelligence background. So I was asked to come in and run the counterintelligence and security aspect for a particular program, at which time I had no idea what the program even was. So what does counterintelligence and security mean? It just simply means making sure that our adversaries like Russia and China can't penetrate our organization and steal our secrets. That's all it is. It's kind of a fancy word for just saying security, information security, and operational security. So I remember I had a meeting. They brought me to go see their director, and it was in I would tell you the location, but I was told by the Pentagon not to say the specific location of this office. But it was somewhere in the D.C. area. It was a facility that wasn't known publicly to be an intelligence office in there, so I can't say the specific location. But I went there, and I went up to the top floor. I think it was the top floor, almost the top floor, and I met for the first time a gentleman named James Lakatsky, Dr. James Lakatsky, Ph.D. And this guy was the epitome of a rocket scientist. And when I say the epitome, I mean he was probably, and there's no exaggeration, the number one rocket scientist in the U.S. government. Now, he's a humble guy, so he'll probably tell you he wasn't, but he really was. He's an amazing human being and very smart. And after a very brief conversation, he looked at me and he said, I want to ask you a question. I said, okay, sir. And he said, what do you think about UFOs? I said, well, I answered truthfully. I said, I don't. And he said, well, what do you mean? You don't believe in them? And I said, no, that's not what I said. You asked me if I think, what do I think about UFOs? And frankly, I don't think about UFOs. I really don't have the luxury to think about them. I'm too busy, working intelligence operations and whatnot. And I remember him looking over his glasses and very seriously staring me straight in the eye and says, well, don't let your personal bias get the best of you, because what you may learn may surprise you and may challenge any preconceived notion of what you think something is or is not. And so let me backtrack for a minute. I've never been a UFO guy. You know, people come up like, "Oh, you're that UFO guy." I'm really not. I was never really into science fiction as a kid. I wasn't into the Star Trek or the Star Wars like a lot of people were. So that was not my disposition. You know, I grew up, I guess, playing GI Joe and stuff like that. So that wasn't my background. And certainly in college,